Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. England, we hear about it all the time, but have you ever stopped and thought, how did it actually, come to be?
That's a great question, actually. I mean, most people just assume England's always been there. But it's a much longer and more complex story than most realize.
That's what we're diving into today. We've got a historical account here that really breaks it down, how England came together.
It's a fascinating story, and it officially starts way back in 927 AD. But the roots go even deeper.
So even before Great Britain, even before the UK, there was just England.
Right, so to get the bigger picture, we got to go back to the foundation, right? England itself.
Makes sense. So let's build this foundation. Where do we even start?
Okay, picture this. The Roman Empire, they're losing their grip on the British Isles. There's this power vacuum, right?
Okay, yeah.
And that's when new groups start moving in.
Okay, who are we talking about here? What new groups?
The Anglo-Saxons.
The Anglo-Saxons, okay.
Tribes from Germanic regions, and they start migrating into what we now call England.
So they're like, hey, opportunity.
Well, there's actually a theory that the native Britons, they were facing attacks, you see, from the Picts and the Scots.
Okay.
And they invited these Anglo-Saxons to help them to be allies.
As allies, oh.
Yeah, to defend their land.
That's not how I remember it.
Well, it kind of backfired, didn't it?
It seems like it.
The Anglo-Saxons, they pushed back the Picts and the Scots. Right, they did their job.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But then they turned on their British allies and took over. By the 7th century, they're running the show.
Wow, okay, so that's how we get these Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, all those names. Essex, Kent, Sussex, Mercia, East Anglia, Northumbria, Wessex.
Exactly. They all pop up.
So for a while, they just kind of...
Yeah, for a couple of centuries, they coexisted, right? Sometimes they cooperated, sometimes they clashed.
Typical.
But things were relatively stable, you could say, until the Vikings showed up.
Oh, yeah, here come the Vikings. Everybody knows about the Vikings.
Yeah, big entrance, 793 AD. Raid on the Lindisfarne Monastery.
So more than just grabbing some treasure.
Oh, way more. It was like a shock to the system.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, the Anglo-Saxon world, it sent ripples. It was like, whoa, things are changing. This is a new era.
So the Vikings, they weren't messing around.
Nope. They conquered East Anglia in 870, Mercia, just 4 years later.
Oh, wow, they moved fast.
Oh, yeah, they weren't just raiders. They were really good warriors and strategists.
I mean, I know they were tough, but I didn't realize they took over that quickly.
Yeah, and then Northumbria falls in 875. That leaves just Wessex, the last one standing.
All the pressure on Wessex.
Right. All eyes on the king, King Alfred.
Okay, so what does Alfred do? Does he just, go to war right away?
Well, he was smart. He knew he couldn't defeat the Vikings head on, not right away, so he played it smart. He actually paid them off to buy himself some time.
Oh, so he's working the long game.
Exactly. He's thinking ahead, build up defenses, train his troops, prepare. And then, 878, the Battle of Edington.
That must have been a big one.
Huge turning point. Alfred wins. Big victory. Stops the Viking advance in its tracks. Wessex is safe. They're strong. This changes everything. Not just for Wessex, but for all of England.
So this is when Alfred starts to be the Alfred. The one who brings England together.
You got it. Momentum is on his side now, right? And then there's this opening in Mercia, like a power vacuum.
Okay.
Alfred takes control.
So, Wessex just absorbs Mercia.
Not quite. He puts an ealdorman, like a high official, in charge of Mercia.
So he still controls it, but...
Yeah, but through this guy. So it's strategic. Mercia's stable, but Alfred's calling the shots.
Got it. 2 kingdoms down, 5 to go.
That's where we'll pick up next time. Yeah, 2 down and a whole lot more to go. But unifying those first 2, that was a big step.
So Alfred's gone. What about his successors? Do they keep building on this idea of a unified England?
They did. But there were still a lot of obstacles, A lot of people weren't happy about this whole unified thing.
Okay, so who picks up the torch?
Well, it's Alfred's son, Edward the Elder of Wessex, and Æthelflaed, who governed Mercia. They're the ones who really start pushing into the Danelaw.
Hold on, back up a sec. The Danelaw.
Right, so basically it's this big chunk of land in England controlled by Vikings, right? 9th and 10th centuries.
Okay, so like a Viking zone.
You got it. Their own laws, customs, totally different vibe from the Anglo-Saxon South.
Got it. So Edward and Æthelflaed, they're taking the fight to the Vikings in the Danelaw.
Yeah, they start expanding their territory. And Æthelflaed, she was a force. Led this incredible campaign, expanded Mercia all the way up to York.
Wow, all the way to York.
Yep, shows you how skilled she was. Military leader, strategist. When they got to York, the locals just surrendered, didn't even fight. pledged their allegiance.
I mean, I can see why. She sounds pretty impressive.
Right.
But she wasn't in charge for that long, was she?
No. Sadly, she died pretty soon after the victory. And when her daughter was supposed to take over, things got a little messy.
Messy how?
Well, the Mersons, they weren't keen on having another woman in charge.
Oh, so what happened?
They basically kicked her daughter out. And that's when Edward, the Elder of Wessex, he sees his chance, swoops in, takes control of all of Mercia.
That's a pretty bold move.
But it was a smart one. Brought all the Anglo-Saxons under one banner. Unified England was getting closer.
So by 918, Mercia's part of Wessex. The Anglo-Saxons are really rolling now. What happens next?
They keep pushing into the Danelaw. And by the time Edward died, in 924, everyone, all the neighbors, they'd pledged allegiance to the king.
It's like all the pieces were falling into place. For England, I mean.
Right. And then Edward's son, Æthelstan, he takes the throne, inherits this strong, unified kingdom.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. What does Æthelstan do with this kingdom? Just keep things ticking along.
He had bigger ambitions, wanted to expand even more, even called himself King of the English.
Ambitious. So where's he going to expand to? England's an island, isn't it?
Well, there was still one bit that wasn't under his control, the Viking-controlled Kingdom of York.
Oh, right, up north.
Yeah, so he had this plan, right? His sister, she was married to the Viking ruler in York.
Okay, so there's a family tie there.
Right. And when that ruler died, Æthelstan marched in, took control of Northumbria, brought it all under his rule.
He was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Really using that family connection to his advantage.
Yeah, and it worked. It was huge. Historians, they mark this early 930s as the real birth of England.
The Kingdom of England.
All those Anglo-Saxon territories finally united under one ruler. But, well, it doesn't end there.
There's more. I thought that was it. England's born. Happy ending.
There's always more to the story. Æthelstan, yeah, he unified England, but holding on to that power, dealing with everyone who wasn't happy about this new kingdom, that was a whole other challenge.
Okay, so this is where the real fight begins.
You could say that, because unifying England was one thing. Keeping it unified, well, that was something else entirely.
So what happens next? Who challenges Æthelstan's power?
We'll get into all that right after this break.
So much happened. It's hard to believe it all fit into just a few centuries.
I know, right? You really see how history is more than just names and dates when you look at it like this.
Like that whole thing with the Britons and the Anglo-Saxons. Talk about an unintended consequence.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted help, right? But wow, that really shifted things in the long run.
It makes you wonder, though, what if they had dealt with those Picts and Scots differently? Would we even be talking about England right now?
That's the thing with history, you know? So many what-if moments that could have changed everything.
You know what else really surprised me? The Vikings. I mean, everyone thinks raiders, right? But they really shaped English culture in a big way.
Oh, absolutely. It wasn't just that time of the Danelaw either. It's lasting, you know?
Yeah.
The names of places, the language itself, even the laws. It's like woven into English society.
And it's not just the stuff you can see, right? Like the actual things. There's also the deeper stuff, the values, the way people think.
That's it. Cultures, they're always changing, always mixing and blending, especially over that much time.
So Englishness itself isn't really like one fixed thing then.
Exactly. It's a mix, a product of, you know, everything that happened before, and it's still changing today.
That's a good point. I mean, for anyone, really. Our identity, whether it's personal or as a country, it's never really set in stone, is it?
Nope. We're shaped by so many things. What we go through, what happened way back when.
Makes you think about how we tell the story, right? Whose stories get told, what we choose to focus on. It shapes how we see ourselves.
Oh, for sure. History is always being reinterpreted. It depends on who's telling it and when. And, well, we got to think critically, right? Question what we think we know, look at things from different angles.
And that's why these deep dives are so cool. It's not just about the facts, it's about going deeper. Looking at everything, you know, the different perspectives and how it all connects.
That's what makes history so fascinating. England's story, it's a perfect example. All the battle, the different groups coming together, them breaking apart, then coming together again, the power struggles, the cultural mixing.
Yeah, from the Anglo-Saxons all the way to Edgar the Peaceful. And then, of course, even more happened after that. But, well, we only have so much time.
Right. But hopefully this deep dive got you thinking, maybe made you want to learn even more.
Because history, it's not just about what happened way back when, right? It's about understanding who we are today.
Exactly. So keep asking questions, keep learning. History is, well, it's full of surprises. There's always something new to discover.